To make this watercolor sample kit, you'll need some paintbrushes, you'll need oil pastels or crayons or a candle, anything waxy really. Watercolor paints, I got a travel kit. You could have them in a tube. So you'll need saran wrap, you'll need salt, masking tape. It's nice to use an old toothbrush for the splatter effect, paper towel, and a cup of water, and pencil and an eraser. You'll also need an extra little cup for tracing. So here I am tracing 9 circles onto the page, but you're actually going to need 9 plus 1. So first we're doing a wash. To do a wash, you get your brush nice and wet, you pick up some paint on it, and you spread it throughout the area that you want with lots of water. So the idea is that ideally it's going to dry nice and flat. You can use this as a background for stuff. So to do wet and wet, it's exactly how it sounds. You put down a lot of wet paint and then you add more wet paint. You can see it blooming out here as the pigment expands into the water particles. Lifting out. So you've got wet paint laid down already, and now you're pulling it back out with paper towel. Great for clouds. Here I'm doing an experiment with salt. So on this first side on the left, I've got lots of pigment, which is to say I've mixed in lots of paint with my water, and I'm putting my salt on here. And on the other side, I tried to make it a little bit more watery. I wish I'd used a thicker salt flake, but anyway, we'll see what happens when I scratch it off. Gradient, also known as an ombre or a blend, 2 different colors, both very wet. And then I'm shifting my paper around here I'm trying to blend them evenly together. Think of like a sunset. Oh, what's cool is you'll notice that when I lay the water down and then I let the paint run around in it, it kind of is trapped in wherever I've made my borders with my brush. So to do wax resist, anything that's oily or waxy resists water, right? And so if I draw with all these, I'm trying out a bunch of various materials here, and then I take a watered down paint and paint it on top, then, well, let's just see what happens. I recommend light colors for big drama. Oh, that feels so good. Oh, it's going to dry so nice. And you can see how the paint, I've got more pigment at the top, less at the bottom. It's going to pool around that, those wax lines. Masking out, you take some masking tape. Here I'm cutting it into wonky little shapes. Oh, and for drawing in, I realized I have to, it needs to be dry. So here I go. I've got my masking tape shapes laid down, and I'm just painting on top of them, in between them. To do splatter, you can use a toothbrush if you, I don't know, are mad at your roommate or have an old one, but a paintbrush works just as well. So you're going to load your brush up with paint and water, and you can see I don't have a lot of control here. What I wish I had done is cut a circle out of a piece of paper and just covered everything else on my page up. Here I'm trying to lift out. Okay, so the salt, once everything is dry, your paint is dry, you're going to rub the salt off. I wasn't completely thrilled with the effect that I got here, but in the circle beside it, I accidentally got some salt in a more watered down paint, and it worked really well. Look at this. Pulling the masking tape off feels so good. Look at how clean and fresh it is underneath the paint. With watercolor, the only white that you really have is the page, so masking is really handy. Plastic wrap. So I've got some very wet paint here. I've ripped off some plastic wrap. You could use a plastic bag, and I've put it inside. Drawing back in. So when your paint is dry, now you can draw on it like paper. So I've used oil pastel here and some pencil. I'm filling in my background with crayon. It's a nice way to sort of maybe get some refinement and definition once you've got laid down your watery base level. And here you can start thinking about combining these different effects. Here I am drawing back into the masking.